more than basic. It's a portion of his rap at the core is ancient. It's imported like a pack of some more observations. They're important like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the core is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm.
So yesterday, I recorded a podcast where we talked about football, and I was very not yesterday. Maybe it was Monday. It was one of these days. I was very effusive of the fact that Tyler had produced the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, man, Tyler produces good football players and blah blah blah. And then for some reason, hadn't even posted yet. And this guy hits me on Twitter with, Tyler, don't get too excited. Remember, you also produced Johnny Manziel.
Oh, that hurt.
That's like a
to
low
which
blow
that guy
right
says, solid burn, sir.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been a bigger flub than Johnny Manziel in the history of the National Football League.
Well, we're going to get into that in just a second since I haven't told people what to listen to yet. And then they're listening to Tattoo with Children. And I am your host, Flavor Ray. In seat A, across from me in seat B is the Dread Pirate Benjamin. Across from us both is the man with the stats, CIO No Pain. I believe Ryan Leaf has probably still got the top spot there. In my opinion, Ryan Leaf, because Ryan Leaf came out with Peyton Manning, and they were 1 and 2. Peyton was 1, Ryan Leaf was 2 in the draft.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be just the rivals of the century, just follow their careers all the way up, all the way to the top, And Peyton Manning turned out to be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Ryan Leaf won 4 games in his career or something like that, 5 games.
Yeah. How many did he play? Like 12?
I want to say he played as a starter probably somewhere along the lines of 18 or 20.
Right. But if you recall, and you and I are pretty big football fans, I never recall seeing a Leaf jersey.
No,
that would be that would be
in his whole career.
Collector's item.
In his whole career, Ryan Leaf played 25 games.
25 games.
That's
so spot on.
2 years with the Chargers and 1 year with Dallas.
And wasn't he also signed with the Seahawks? Didn't he end at the Seahawks?
All it's got here is 1998, 2000, and 2001.
I think he signed with the Seahawks and got injured in he walked out of his car for training camp and separated his shoulder.
Here's the line. Yeah, he got another chance with the Seattle Seahawks. They signed him to a 1-year contract, and they were going to let him develop slowly, right? And
how slow can a motherfucker develop when he plays in 25 games?
He abruptly retired at the age of 26, just before the start of the Seahawks 2002 training camp, offering no explanation at first.
Apparently, I'm a grower, not a shower. Did not go over well.
Didn't work
staff.
well in the coaches. Dude.
But you were spot on about the games where he started. He started 21 games.
Yeah,
he started 21 games. He won. I want to say he won 5. Did he win 5 or 4 or 5?
I don't know if I'm reading these stats correctly.
Okay.
I don't think they have the win-lose ratio on these stats.
I feel like he won 4 with San Diego and 1 with the Cowboys or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
It was something stupid. I mean, and hear about the thing about Johnny Manziel. The reason I say that Ryan Leaf was worse than Johnny Manziel because Johnny Manziel was on dope from the beginning.
Right.
He came in high and he left high.
Right.
Ryan Leaf was fine.
Right.
I don't think he even took alcohol when he started in the NFL.
Right.
He just fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. 14 touchdowns, 36 interceptions in his career.
That shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel was.
What did he eventually say he left for?
Did he even say? He never talked to the media.
I don't think he even said it. Mike Holmgren, the Seahawk coach, said that Leaf's wrist didn't bother him with either the Cowboys or the Seahawks.
That's right. He had a wrist. Oh, my God. His fucking wrist.
So they assume it's his wrist, right?
Yeah.
But he's given no explanation either way.
He had a non-throwing injury on his left wrist that plagued him for 5-6 years.
Was it a masturbation issue?
More than likely.
No one ever knew.
It seems really
and
reasonable.
they're like, how do we fix it? Well, I recommend surgery. So has he had the surgery? No. Why not? I don't know. Where is he? In the back. What's he doing? Fighting people?
Because as one of his coaches said, he took the money and he ran.
I mean,
Look, if you're a running back, right?
Yeah.
Taking the money and running is what you're supposed to do.
true.
If you're a quarterback, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Now, here's the reason why I know so much about Ryan Leaf, because Ryan Leaf made an enemy of Rodney Harrison, who is one of my favorite receivers of all time.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Rodney Harrison
That's who said
loved to talk about Ryan Leaf.
That's who said that. Rodney Harrison's the one who said he took the money and ran.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I always love to see interviews with Rodney Harris talking about Ryan Leaf. They were great. Well, anyway, that was I got that burn, and to soothe myself, I looked up some interesting information, and this is something that Ben told me that I didn't believe at first, and I looked it up because it seems too unreal, and I don't think our listeners even know about it, so I'm just going to tell them.
All right.
You guys out there listening, you are aware of who the singer Akon is?
Yeah.
So the singer Akon is building a city.
Yeah.
Yeah, the singer Akon is building a city. It's going to be on an island.
Yeah.
It's going to have about 3,000 people, I believe, somewhere on those lines.
Sure.
And the thing that got me, about this city, he's going to build a city, put his people on it, and the people in this city will be using a special cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
So they would not be using dollars or renminbi or yen
Or Bitcoin.
or Bitcoin.
Nah.
They will be using cryptocurrency. It will be known as a coin.
Fuck, dude.
That has got to give you the giggles. A coin.
I was shocked you didn't know about it.
Dude,
I just wonder
did not
why.
know anything
I wonder
about that.
why he needed the city to
See,
be able to
this
do
is-
this. Like, it doesn't seem necessary to have the city.
I don't think there's any way to make a person use a coin with your likeness and name
Right.
if you don't have them trapped on an island.
Can you imagine though? Like you get off the boat and they're like, "Do you want to convert your dollars to a coin?"
And you're like, what?
Yeah, you're like, "Nah, I really
No,
didn't.
I'm good at keeping
I'm
dollars.
good."
Well, you can't buy anything if you don't use a coin.
Right. We only use a coin here.
So I have to convert all my money into a currency that only you will accept? Correct, sir. Okay, I guess I'll get back on the boat. The boat's gone.
I mean, that's not really that strange because it's what you do when you travel to foreign countries, right?
But you don't have to. You're not forced
You don't.
to.
They will still take.
That's not true. When you go to Europe, yeah, you're not forced to.
They will
Okay?
still take travelers' checks and credit.
and credit cards. Okay, you're okay.
But
you
they'll
got
take
that.
you can't have dollars.
But
in
it comes
France?
through. You can't. It's not. They're not going to arrest you for having them.
Much
But
of
if you
the
pay-
world will still take American dollars.
But if you try to pay,
Yeah.
right, with American dollars, they're gonna be like, no euro.
Okay. I
Or
see.
euro, like you
Okay.
can convert to
All
euro,
right.
like and which I'm fine with.
Let's be clear that I have not been to Europe.
And dude, I would very much be like, I believe when I go to Europe, which I will never do, but when I go to Europe,
Yeah.
I'm going to probably use credit.
Why would you not go to Europe?
I mean, it's
Just be sure, depending
I'm-
upon where you are in Europe, like if you're in the countryside of Germany, right? Then you have to be aware that like even MasterCard and Visa, right, may not be accepted. They use Maestro.
90% of my worst nightmares feature me in the countryside of Europe, in the backwoods of Germany. So no, I'm not going there.
Really? What is that? What is that? Where's that
I'm
coming
just
from?
picturing Hostel.
Hey guys, just by the way, we're having some electrical work done today, so you're probably going to
Yeah,
hear.
you're gonna hear some shit today.
That's right.
It's okay.
It's more than dogs.
It's fine.
The movie Hostel,
Yeah,
I believe that was in Germany.
yeah. I did not.
You know,
I did not see that.
I believe there was a dust up in the 30s and 40s that occurred in Europe that I'm glad I wasn't a part of.
Why
like,
are
like
you-
those are my images of Germany.
They were angry at the Jews. They were not angry at the black
Like
people.
I go on the internet and it's like, hey,
I mean, he
tell
does have a
something.
point. They also did take care of
Take care of.
that, according to them. Like
According-
the whole
according to
non-Aryan thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was and like
They were upset at everyone.
And so I go
non-white.
like, hey, what's Germany like today? And then I get some guttural language noises and say, hey, look at our good point. What's your good point? Like here, the goo girls. Like, what are the? Oh God, no,
right.
no, not going to Germany.
So Germany does have a fairly odd reputation, and it's even odder because, like Eckhart Tolle came out of it. And or not like came out of it, but in the sense like he felt a massive amount of empathy, if I recall correctly, for the young men with no grandfathers or fathers.
Right.
Yeah. And he said
Their fathers got
basically,
murdered.
yeah, he said basically, it's been 60 years since there was like a normal family here,
Right.
and so I've often wondered like how it would be to grow up being hated by the entire world.
The entire world's surface.
Yeah.
It's like and honestly, like, dude, I'm not saying that Germany's not a nice place. I believe that German people are nice people. It's just that I get nervous when you say let's go to Germany. I'm like, I mean, it's not that I'm nervous and since I'm afraid something's going to happen. It's just like all of my worst nightmares
Yeah.
involve a German torture chamber or a gas chamber. I read too much.
They were
seen too many
fairly
movies.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things though that's really interesting is like you and I, because we were born in 78, 79, we grew up in an era where it was almost not okay to talk about World War II anymore.
Yeah.
And
Like only because it was our grandparents.
Right.
And they were kind of in that era. Our grandparents were in that age where their earlier memories were coming back
yeah,
in that, flashback kind of way.
right.
And so they didn't want to talk about that shit. And so, they didn't want to say much about it.
You would try to talk to somebody about it, like, "Hey, but what I don't understand is how far the inhumanity went." Because but again, this is because you and I have been having conversations forever. We understand that there's nothing wrong. It's difficult to comprehend it, but war is a part of being a human.
Yeah, it's one of our main vocations.
And so you and I understand that.
Yeah.
But we also look at war within reason.
Right.
War within humanity, I would say. Like, in
Yeah.
other words, it's never going to be pretty. It's never going to be kind.
It's never going to be sane.
No, it's not. But it doesn't, like, you and I would never lock up a group of people with no food.
Right.
That's just not a thing we would do.
Yeah, not even during wartime.
No.
I would take that same group of people and shoot them all in the head
Sure.
and not feel much about it because it's war.
Right.
But to put them in a room and then starve them,
Right.
my soul would not be able to handle that at all.
No, to put them in a work camp in the mud for no reason other than you don't have anything to do with them.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it's inhuman, and
Yeah.
and I think, but what I've always wondered is what led to that amount of inhumanity, and that's a very interesting thing because you and I have both read a lot of books about this.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever heard an answer that I actually believed.
I think one of the things I think was there was a extraordinary amount of pain in Europe at the time. Like I don't think that we really understood before or after how much pain Europe was in.
Yeah.
They had the World War I was something that the world wasn't ready for. Like, in general, they weren't ready for trench warfare. They were not ready for literally everyone who participated in a battle dies.
Right.
They weren't ready to have that happen on their doorstep.
Right.
Well,
and it's also a very weird time because, in other words, if you were 20 years old, by the time World War I came around, means you'd been born at the turn of the century, much like our children.
Right.
Okay? And it was a very different world because I remember reading a lot of historical figures around that time that were not related to the war. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, if you were born in Romania and you wanted to go to school, your parents would save up a bunch of money, pack it in a backpack, and at 11 years old,
you would go
send you to walk 3 days to go to university. When you got to university, you had to sign up. You had to meet the headmaster. And then you had to find a place to live while you went to university for the next 3 months.
Right.
We would never do that to an 11-year-old.
That's something weird
it's not even
to our sensibility.
Yeah, it's not even like boarding school, dude. Can you imagine your parents, when you were 11, saying, hey, walk to Tyler
right,
and come back in May.
Said, "What am I hitchhiking?" Said, "No, just walk the whole time. Why are you? That's dangerous to hitchhike."
Right.
But they're not even roads. You're going through the woods, over hills and shit.
Well, and there are some roads, but then there's the danger of getting robbed because you see this fucking kid walking along, got a backpack. You're like, hey, what's in the backpack? You're like, none of your business. Kid tries to run away. Kid's not faster than the adult. Adult steals the backpack. Now he can't go to university.
Right.
So, it was a very weird time.
Yeah.
But still, I often wonder, how do you get to a place where out of 40 dudes, right? Mm-hmm. No one of them is going to go, hey, this is, we've been on this position for 9 months, right? Me and you've been watching this wall every night.
Right.
Those people are literally bleeding to death in the mud. I don't know how they're still, we have to shoot them.
Yes, this isn't good. Let's just burn this place down and walk off.
Right, this isn't right. You say, well, it was totalitarian fear. I don't buy it.
The other part of it is these camps we're talking about were not off, by themselves. They're right next to cities.
Right.
They're right. They're you can actually see.
You're talking about the concentration camps?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were in Europe, we actually visited one, and kind of put it in perspective, right? We were in Munich.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
This is one of the major cities of Germany.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's a big
south,
city. Yeah.
Right. And the concentration camp at Dachau is, we left downtown Munich.
Yeah.
We were there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
See, that's exact. It's within walking distance.
See, and that's my thing. It's like you and I. Okay, so to put it in perspective, we've lived in East Texas most of our lives. We've lived other places, but East Texas mostly. Dude, in the summer, you can smell the chicken farms.
Easy,
right?
And
real easy.
And they're 9 miles away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this would have been very, very similar distance.
Yeah.
And so,
so how did you not smell the human farms?
It's not just that.
I'm not,
they actually illustrated this. If you haven't watched Man in the High Castle, I'm going back to the first season, and that's the thing. And I don't even need to get into the show, but one of the scenes, right?
Right.
The truck the guy's driving is stopped, right?
Right.
And something starts coming down from the sky. It looks almost like snow flurries, right?
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
It's ash. And he asks the sheriff, what is this? Right? Is there a fire?
Right.
Oh, it's the crematorium.
Right.
Where we did, this is the day week where they burn all the cripples.
Right.
Just casually, that's what he says.
Yeah. And I think, but interestingly enough, America has a related quality.
Yes.
That a lot of people don't know about, which is where you and I are from.
Uh-huh.
Where Mike has chosen to live his life and where his wife Liz is from.
Right.
There was a prisoner of war camp here.
Right here. Yeah.
In Lufkin.
Yeah.
And there is no evidence of it. You cannot go there.
that's my whole point. Like I was about to say, like we've had things like this in a way.
Right.
We had a POW camp here,
Right.
but
And
I can't tell you where it was.
Right, and I don't think there was. I would argue that it was not as inhumane, but I can't prove it.
I can't tell you that
because we don't know where it was.
because I don't know where it was. See, like it was off. Like here, there's the woods are deep and dark. Okay,
Right.
Shit is back there.
Right.
We don't know what's back there in the woods because
Right.
the woods are too deep and too fucking dark.
Right.
So they could have put up a camp and done some shit there,
Right.
and no one would have known about it.
Right.
Like literally nobody would have known about it.
Right.
That's not what happened in Germany. They knew.
Right.
They knew 100% what was going on.
Right.
Now they said they didn't know.
Right.
And the Americans were like, how could you not have known? You can see it from here,
Right.
from your doorstep. I can point to it from here.
Right.
You must have known.
Right.
So they obviously knew. We wouldn't have known. Like I didn't know about that camp until doing some deep fucking research.
Yeah.
Just to determine that it existed.
Oh no!
Still don't know which direction it is.
Me and you saw evidence of it in really, really, really old newspaper clippings. But it took like 3 years more to find out that it was actually here.
Yeah.
And then where it was actually, who was in charge of it, the length of time, and what happened to those people after the war ended.
After the war ended, we do not know.
No, there's no. And by the way, again, we've been through the books, man.
Now I suspect that the people were just released
Yeah.
and that they just blended in with the local populace.
Given Texas, that's the funny thing about Texas, and I know we're kind of back on the arrogance of Texans again, but the funny thing about Texans is that it is true that we don't put a lot of law into our thought process,
Right.
but we do put a lot of, if I die and meet the Maker, and you say, so you're religious. No, I didn't say that.
No.
If I die and meet the Maker today, I know for a fact that this thing that I don't believe in is probably going to be upset about what happened here today.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say, guys, for the record, that I didn't believe in it. I was talking as random human number 374,000.
Yeah.
But like most Texans that I've come across think that way. You remember when we saw President Bush's response to the war? It was like, well, it was like, no, that's a Texan response, man.
Absolutely a Texan response.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, you did us wrong. We're going to send some guys and do you wrong.
So
and
now
then we'll call it even.
We're going to have to hurt you because you've done something real bad.
Right. And by the way, you know why I have to send people to hurt you? Because I got to be able to meet the Maker and look him in the eye and say I did the right thing.
See, this is the reason why, The Walking Dead hit me so hard when Negan hit the show. Mm-hmm. It's like, it never said it, but I'm betting that Negan was a Texan. Because that's a very Texan attitude. It was like you said, dude, I'm not trying to hurt your people.
Right.
I'm not even trying to take things that don't belong to me.
Right.
I'm trying to take things that do belong to me.
Right.
What I can't figure out is why you don't understand that.
Right.
That's a very Texan attitude.
It is. It is. Like, you're under the impression that you're running this. Except I'm from Texas.
Except I'm from Texas.
And so unless you're going to pull the trigger right now.
Right. Which you can't because you don't have the gun.
Then you recognize that I'm running this. And so
that's also to a certain extent it's kind of German. Like Texas kind of German. Like all of our favorite foods are German foods.
Well, and we do have, the entire town of Fredericksburg, is a German town, which is right in the central, right in the smack dab middle of Texas. Mm-hmm. And it's straight up German.
Well, we had the whole German country was in Texas, Adelsverein.
Okay.
Adelsverein is like out west, the whole, that Lockhart, Fredericksburg, that
San Antonio area.
San Antonio, like that whole area was a bunch of Germans.
Yeah.
Came through. That's the reason why the barbecue is so dope.
Yeah.
We got German sausages and German smoking techniques, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
Like if I went to Germany for some reason and was trapped there, I wouldn't be too upset because I got food.
Yeah.
There'd be,
I know exactly
what to eat.
Right. There'd be beer and there'd be meat. So,
There'd be beer and sausages and shit. Like I can do this. No,
yeah,
okay.
you wouldn't be too mad about it.
And I got the Goo Girls there to keep me entertained.
But I think it just brings up, I don't know, it brings up an interesting point because I think I still wonder about that a lot.
It does. If you think about it too long, it starts to disturb your sleep. Like if particularly in this area, because like I said, we know all the shit that we don't know about the questions that we don't bother asking about the woods of East Texas.
Right.
I mean, when I do, you can go back there 2 miles from any road
Yeah.
into any wooded area, and you go 2 miles deep, and you have no idea where the fuck you are anymore.
Well, and also when you run across, I don't know if you've ever been that deep in the woods with me and Ray, but like you'll come across what was clearly a usable road, aka almost highway,
Right.
100 years ago, and you can go. I've never seen this. This is on no maps. This is
Right.
60 feet wide, though. Like
Right.
you could
Yeah.
walk from one side to the other and go, this doesn't make any sense. There's no goddamn reference to it. Where did it go? And
Where did it go? What was
and
it
then
going to?
People like me and Ray will go, well, do you want to follow it and find out? And we just kind of look at each other. We look around, and then you start listening for the animals, and there are none.
Right.
And you're like,
The animals don't go here.
are there birds? Where are there squirrels? Where are the deer? And then you go, okay, I'm fucking out of here, dude.
Yeah, then we leave.
Yeah, we fucking leave. And
Because,
you go,
like, I believe in energy.
yeah, and you wipe it off your mental thing too.
Right.
Because you're like, if someone asks and goes, hey, have you ever been to that place? You want to be able to go, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to go see it? No, I don't. I mean, there could be something out there, and you can go if you want. I ain't going.
Dude, that's like there's people hunt for Bigfoot in East Texas. That's the reason why. Because there's like, well, if there's a Bigfoot here, he's probably down off in that area right there.
Yeah.
Let's go check it out. No.
Well, I mean,
Did you ever see that show called The Outsiders?
no. I've meant to like get into it and try
Okay.
to watch it, but I never did.
That shit's scary, really.
It's scary, but we have a place like that. There's a place within 30 minutes of here where you can get to, and I shit you not, there is a big tree in the bend of the river.
Okay.
The only way to get to it is to walk for 8 hours or to take a boat. And there have been people living there since before my great-grandfather, and they are living there today in 2020.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's real.
Like it's Ray. We don't know. I mean, Mike. We don't know when they come out, right?
Right.
We
I don't know
if they,
I don't
we
know if they
out.
come out.
We don't.
I
we
don't think
know,
they do.
Yeah, like it's not the rainbow people.
I mean, I can understand it because while in the state of New Jersey we didn't really have that. You know, we did have the Pine Barrens, right, which were
Sure.
very creepy woods
Right.
to be in, right?
Yeah.
But you go up northwest and you hit into the woods of the Appalachians there,
Yeah.
and you know, in the Poconos, dude, it ain't all old casinos and
Right,
you know, whatever.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's some people back there.
There's a certain area where
Yeah.
people just stop. We're not going to go any deeper.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing about America, and you know, we wonder sometimes why people say, why are you Americans like this? Part of it is because there's a significant portion of our country that is still undiscovered.
It's well, I don't want to say it's undiscovered. It has been discovered, but we've decided that the thing that invited us here to America doesn't want us to live there, and
Yeah.
so we don't argue with it.
We leave it undisturbed.
Yes, it was like, you know what, we found this, and now we need to leave and not tell anybody that we found this.
Yeah.
We do keep things a little bit sacrosanct in certain areas without specifically calling it that.
I believe
Yeah.
that every area of this
Yeah.
country, every state has that. You know, you go to a little town, and you're like, "Hey guys, you know, let's all take a nature walk." Then you're going to go on a nature walk, and if you look at it on the map, you're going to be avoiding this area. You'll walk 10 miles out of your way
Right.
to avoid. I think every state has that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
And there's fascinating stuff when you get into Stephen F. Austin and the history surrounding that, the foundation of the state, the names of the people who signed the original, statehood and different things like that.
Uh-huh.
You get into an Indian uprising, and I forget the year that it occurred in, but there's about 45 minutes south of here. There actually was a Mexican fort, and I say Mexican because it was run by a Mexican lieutenant from Mexico under orders by General Santa Anna.
I am trying so hard to remember the year that this uprising happened.
Oh, there were quite a few.
It was pretty fascinating, though. And there's actually people, I have known people, who have bought the land
Really?
that they think that fort is on.
And they haven't found it?
Spent time looking for it.
You're talking about during the Cherokee War of 1838 to 1839, and specifically the Battle of Natchez.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Battle of Natchez.
And
that's it's way close to where we are right now.
Yeah, it's super close. And it's one of the oldest, ghost stories out there.
Yeah.
Because no one's, A, been able to find the gold.
Right.
And B, they can't find enough of the fort.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting is when you get on Google Maps, because there's so much satellite imagery now,
Yeah.
you find a few places that you go, okay, is that man-made or is that another example of nature-made?
That looks
shape,
sort of like
right?
something
They
man-made.
could be buried, that could have been this, that, or the other, because 1830 was a long time ago. And so you go that would be really cool. Maybe we should go out and explore that. And your next thought is just I don't have enough money to devote my entire life to this.
See, the problem with that is to get to these places, you have to have a supply line.
Right.
And if you were to just I'll just take my gear and go off, dude, you might not come out of those woods.
Right.
We don't know what's back there. And I'm telling you, some of that shit ain't right.
And there's, and then you get into whether it's right or not, there are people back there.
Yeah.
Who have been living back there forever.
And they may not want you to know where they live.
How could you say, how do you have a right to say they shouldn't be there if they've been there 200 years longer than you?
Yeah, they belong there.
And you say, well, but do they belong there because I purchased the land? But see, they haven't known about any of these purchases.
See, they haven't, not only have they not known about the purchase, but you purchased it from somebody who didn't own it if you didn't buy it from them. It's that sort of thing. And it's not just Texas. A lot of places have ghost stories. Well, I just like ours better because ours are ours.
Well, but this gets into, a lot of the, you think a lot of the people in America with the indigenous people had the wrong motivation.
Uh-huh.
Okay? But think about what we're just talking about. Some of them probably did not have the wrong motivation. In other words, they rode their horse around this 10,000 acres
right
for 8 years.
Right.
And didn't see anybody.
Right.
So they staked out a claim.
Stayed, I'm going to stay here.
They went to the bank. They said, this is mine. I'm filing it with the state. I'm doing this and that. Mm-hmm. And then 4 years later, this tribe comes back and goes, hey, this is our land. You're like, but it's been 12 years. Yeah, man, we were in Canada fishing. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. But
this was ours.
I was here 400 years ago.
Right. And so but you see where the confusion could come from. Because technology, and again, you say, well, okay, Ray, because we now know history, we're going to do the right thing.
Right.
And let these indigenous people have their land back.
Right.
So what is your wife going to say about the fact that you and her do not have a house anymore?
Right. So our house now belongs to this fella here.
Right. Because you're going to do the right thing.
Yeah, that may not go over well at the dinner table. We're going to talk some more about some stuff when we get back after this break.
Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest than the cortisol, president or lose a fight. Doesn't matter if you're cooler, hottest than the cortisol, president or lose a fight.
back with Tattoo with Children. We were just talking about isolated populations, and we started off with Akon and his man-made island city,
Akon
City, where they're going to. And this is here's the thing. I believe that Akon is doing this to give himself and a group of people a place to belong. Okay, a place to belong and a new idea about how to belong to a place. That's what I believe. I believe that's his motivation. I don't know what his actual motivation is.
Sure.
Maybe something much more sinister or much more benign. I don't know.
Right.
But like, I'm thinking if I wanted to build an island with an isolated population and make them, give them a sense of belonging, one of the things that I would do is give them their own money. Does that make sense? I believe that the money of a place is one of the things that unites a people. And I think that money as a unifying group dynamic force is a tried and true method of that. And I've seen it most of my life.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me while I was looking up the whole thing, like I had a flashback of me watching a televangelist with my mother when I was a kid. Like I grew up in a pretty religious house. Like, you know, we went to church as often as Southern Baptists do. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about Sunday, Wednesday, Bible study, blah, blah, blah. And my mother also watched televangelists. Jimmy Swaggart. Who was that other cat out of Houston?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to remember.
But there was like 3 or 4 that we bounced around. And I remember when I was about 11 years old, this cat said, "Listen, if you want to," he was in his hot and heavy fire and brimstone speech. You know, I mean, he's all over the stage. He's sweating. He's real animated. And then he said something that caught my attention and is stuck in my mind for 30 years. He said, if you want to avoid hell, if you want to avoid being a piece of excrement, then use one thing you can do. Do this one thing, and you will absolutely be on the right side of God, Jesus, the angels, and the saints.
Okay.
And that thing is tithe.
Okay.
If you tithe, then you will be right with all the other things.
Okay.
And 11 years old, my first thought was, that don't sound right. It's like, that don't seem like that's true.
Right.
And so I began to look more critically at the teachings of my church leaders. And one thing I noticed was that hell didn't have a real good description, but it reminded me of when my parents would say, listen, on Christmas Day, you have to make sure you're asleep because Santa will come in. If you're awake, he will spit tobacco in your eye.
Right.
And so one Christmas, I stayed up late so I could see Santa and see if he'll spit tobacco in my eye, because fuck that.
Right.
And it didn't happen. And I realized it was a story she was telling me just to make sure I went to bed and didn't stay up all night. And I was like, hell seems like it's the same sort of thing.
Right.
Whereas, like, it's something that you tell children to get them to behave. And it made sense to me. I said, okay, if you're God, then you basically have a race of children. So you're going to tell them stories to make sure that they behave. And so I started thinking, I was all right, so if hell is a story you tell children, then maybe I should just go and see what it's like. And they say, well, why take that chance? Well, the truth is, if there is a God of the universe and he's going to send his children to hell because they didn't do 1 or 2 things, then that to me is not the action of a sane God. And so I'm willing to accept damnation as my punishment
Yeah.
for not accepting that.
Right.
Like I'm good with it.
Right.
So since that day, since I was 12 years old, I've just assumed as a matter of course that I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
I've got absolutely no problem with it because if I go to hell, then that is my fate. That was my destiny from the very beginning.
Right. I think that's a very Texan thing too.
That's what I was about to say. I said that's another thing that unites us as Texans is that most Texans I talk to have also decided that they're going to hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it all started with you can go to hell. I'm going to Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's where it all started.
I think a lot of it did.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it also went, look, we're doing the best we can. If this shit isn't going to get us out of this, right? Don't put no fucking trap door on me. Just tell me
point
where,
to the door.
Point to the door, and I'll walk through it.
Yeah.
Same way I did every day.
Yeah,
Like
that's exactly the way that I look at it, and I think that the uniting aspect of money is what motivates a lot of belonging groups, including the church, Akon's Island, and to a certain extent Texas.
No.
It's just like in other words, I don't think that Acoin is something malicious in and of itself.
No.
That's again, it could be, but I really think that it's the same way that you would tell a child, don't stay up and get tobacco spit in your eye. I think that Acoin is like, hey, use my money.
Yeah, I see that, and also I see the lost cause.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mike brings up the point of a very big part of being a believer in the United States of America is believing in lost causes. It was Davy Crockett who said, "You can go to hell. I'm going to Texas." I mean,
right.
The reason it became a flag, the reason it became a rallying cry, was it encapsulated the time. And Davy Crockett was like, "Look, I know this is a fucking lost cause, okay? But I got 2 divorced wives. There's 3 senators who have probably slept with their wives. Blah blah blah. The business is dried up."
Right.
So I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
I'm just, and I think that's
I was gonna walk right into it.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk right into it and see if I come out. And if I don't, well, fuck it. We'll figure out that when we get there. And
Right.
I think the idea that that's something that unites us is that we don't like giving up on lost causes.
Yeah.
Well, there's this community that isn't working. Well, maybe I should go over there.
I should go over there and see if I can fix it.
Yeah, it's not the white knight complex as much as it is the. I think that's what Akon's trying to do. It's like, hey, maybe if I do it, maybe if I go start an island, somebody else will go. Well, I've got this living trust my great-great-grandfather left me. Maybe I ought to buy up half of Wyoming,
right,
and start my own damn city.
And this is like, well, what we use for money? Well, we got Acoin already.
Right.
let's just use some of this cryptocurrency that's already robustly used trading for goods and services on this island.
I mean, I think one of the points that you started to hit on, Ray, was that if you don't do something like that, right, then are you really creating a sense of belonging?
Yes.
To the people you want to attract there.
Yeah.
If you just say you have a city, well, cool. I got a city too.
Yeah.
Well, but my city uses Acoin.
Right.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't. You just say, what do you use for money? Like, dude, we've mentioned several times the Hidden Village.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we have a village. Do you really? What do you use for money?
Right.
Maybe what we should do is set up our own cryptocurrency. We could.
See, I don't think we need cryptocurrency. I think we just need to get serious about trading tattoos for services.
I'm gonna.
If we're gonna do that, though, the image that represents the icon needs to be Naruto holding his little frog money sack.
I'm gonna throw this out there to y'all though. I think Akon has a few more dollars than we do.
You know, he may.
Listen, it's not about the number of
He
dollars.
had some pretty good songs out there. I Just Had Sex, I think, was the top 20 hit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, too, that he's going to do it, given all the, like, scandals he's been in.
You know what? And see, that was the other part of it. It's like, but what if what if it's actually a malicious intent altogether?
See, this is why we actually need to be like getting Akon on and be like, dude, what are you doing?
So, okay, first thing I want to know, Akon, is like, all right, so when you were grinding a 15-year-old, I just want you to tell me, you had a notion that she might not be 18, right?
I don't know if that's true.
What?
I'd have to ask him. Look, I
want to ask him.
I want to
ask
agree with CIO Payne here. Why don't you find out what social media Akon uses and hit him up?
See if we can get him on?
Yeah, hit him up on Twitter. But here's the deal: we don't just want him to be on a podcast. We want to talk about Akon City.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. I don't know.
I don't know if he taking investors.
Well, but I just want to ask him questions about it.
Like, what? I do want to know his motivation. Like,
why is he building a city?
Let's see. I just searched for Akon. Akon does have a Twitter. See, here's the other part of it. Look at this. Look at this picture. Is it?
Yeah.
Like
Show it up here.
It's very clean. It is very white with his face. Like it's a white background. He's wearing a white shirt, so it's very clean. But does this not remind you of an old school Bond villain? You know what I mean? He's
like,
I took one look and said, "Yeah, this nigga's building a city."
In the middle of that city is going to be a world-ending, destroying weapon.
Right, in his white suit.
he looks.
I'm sorry, I apologize. His off-white suit.
You know damn well this motherfucker right here is going to have, like, large cats on leashes.
Right. He's walking a goddamn tiger.
No dogs.
With a pile of Acorn in the background.
So, like, what we know is that he's starting a city on an island and the currency is going to be Acorn. I really kind of want, from the horse's mouth, right? What are the other rules and the laws that are going to be part of Akon City?
And here's the thing about, like, on Billboard on January 14th, wrote an article. It says Akon says he just finalized the agreement for his own city in Senegal. And Akon retweeted this article because he wants people to know that he's having his own city in Senegal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he is all about it. You know what I mean? It's not as if he's doing this in secret.
Maybe he
wants folks to know.
Maybe he's upset because he doesn't want to be on the, the block disobeying the law. He wants to be on the block writing his own law.
And which is a very interesting it goes back to, in this time, are we just so disconnected from everything? Okay.
Yes. Straight up.
Answering my question for ask it.
Continue.
Like, we're so disconnected from everything that the only way we can get connection is to literally just band like-minded people together and separate further.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, isn't that bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
It is. It is. And I think that's where our curiosity into this comes from, because the idea of having a city, right?
Right.
Even with the coin, that's separated. That's fine, right? That creates a sense of belonging, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But that's where my question behind the other rules comes in, right? Like,
Are y'all going to observe
it's not going to be as drastic as
Right.
you have to be a black dude.
Right.
To be on the island,
yeah.
right?
No.
But what are the other, exclusionary factors?
So, well, what else? Like, if say you have to accept my currency, well, what does you have to accept from Akon in order to live in this city?
But the thing about it is that we get caught up in, and we've talked about it on Tattooed with Children. We get caught up in having opinions about Akon and his city instead of doing the simplest thing. Contact his media group, contact him on social media, contact the people around him and say, we're a no-name podcast and we would like to have a conversation about your city.
Right. And
That's what people aren't doing.
right. Not necessarily with, Akon himself. We get it. I'm a busy dude.
Sure.
He's probably a pretty busy dude.
Yeah,
right?
he can put his
But if
secretary.
his
can call
PR
in.
people can call in.
Yeah, let me see. If I
I'm
can,
down.
Let's see if I can send him a DM.
Well, we need
Twitter's
to-
a little weird.
Twitter is a little weird. We need to wrap this up though, because Mike's got a.
Don't worry.
follow.
We're all good. We're all good.
Okay, all right.
All right.
If you guys want to wrap it up, we can, but we're all good at the moment.
I'm not trying to stretch it out longer than it has to be. Like, look, I mean, it's just something that was just occurring to me. Just something that's occurred to me. Like, there's this. I started thinking about who we are and what people want out of us. Why is Joe Rogan so popular?
Right.
And I think it's because people feel more like they belong to something when listening to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan just endorsed a political candidate. The political candidate was Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Which surprised me, but doesn't surprise me. It surprised me because Joe is pretty conservative,
He is.
but it doesn't surprise me because he's also a maverick.
Yeah.
And so if it's going to fuck shit up, Joe may vote for it.
Well, I have one additional thing to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan appreciates conversation more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who took the time to come on and have a 6-hour conversation,
It was Bernie Sanders.
it was Bernie Sanders.
That is true.
And I'm not shocked.
Like, even-
I would be surprised. In other words,
Even if you didn't want to
Right.
have him as president,
Sure.
you've got to respect
Yes.
a man of that age having conversation that long
Yeah.
with somebody who was going to completely disagree with every point
and
of view.
by
he
the
has.
way, I suspect that Joe Rogan does not agree with Bernie Sanders on most things.
No, he
But
doesn't.
Right.
Bernie Sanders was the only candidate that came on and talked to him.
But he
The
knows
rest of
he
them
can
didn't
speak to
do
Bernie
it.
Sanders.
they wouldn't even try. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't even come on. Why wouldn't Biden come on? Why wouldn't Trump come on?
Why wouldn't Warren come on?
Right.
Like, dude, I thought for sure Warren would be the first in line because she seems to want to talk to everybody.
Right.
But even the people that she's accusing of horrible things,
Right.
she's still trying to have a conversation with them about, like, you did something fucked up. Let's talk about it.
Right.
I respect that in her. But, like, I'm not saying that I take Joe Rogan's, dude, honestly, Joe Rogan's endorsement means less than dick to me.
Right.
It's not that I don't like him. I love JRE, but his opinions on politics, like, I don't even think motherfucker votes.
Right.
So like, I don't really take that to heart. But I do love the fact that he talks to people he doesn't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to people who he doesn't understand at all.
Right.
Like I said, I don't understand anything that you do.
Right.
I don't really understand why you are a person that is of interest and trying to figure it out. That's why you're on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you're here, but we're going to spend the next few hours figuring that out.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he'll do a goddamn 6-hour conversation, which I currently don't think I can do.
Right.
Like, I can talk for 2 hours,
Right.
maybe 3.
Right.
At that third hour, I'm like, all right, guys,
Yeah,
I need a
I'm out.
nap.
let's I'm always like, I need to burn
dude,
this information.
We did 3 hours during the live party.
Yeah, we
right?
did.
And after that, like the next day, right?
Yeah.
I was done.
Yeah, we
Bro.
didn't have no conversations the next day after that 3 hours.
Yeah, my wife came in and she was like, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" And I signed, "I'm not talking to you today."
Yeah. Like it's that's one of the things that annoys my wife. Always says, "You save all your best conversations for the podcast." I'm like, God, I've got to.
Yeah, like
we're trying to start a thing here.
Would you expect something different?
All right, guys, you've listened to Tattoo with Children. I've been your host, Flavor Ray. You can find Tattoo with Children on Facebook at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Twitter. I'm sorry, on Instagram at Tattoo with Children. You can find us on Twitter at Tattooed With. You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Vanguard. That's one word, Hunter Vanguard. And you can find me on Instagram at Madara Shadow. You can find Ben on Instagram at Black Crow Brother and also at Black Spot Tattoo Company. And you can find Mike Payne on Instagram at CAO Payne and at Payne.points. That's Payne spelled Payne. And you can find us on Podchasers, because you can find every podcast on Podchaser, but you can find us in particular because I've connected myself to Podchasers, and you can give us a review, and that would help us out a lot. Or you can also give us money directly on Patreon, and I'll take that. You know,
Sure.
All day long.
Listen, if all you got is Acoin, go ahead and see if it works.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take some Acoin.
Sure.
That's probably if nothing else, I'll go to Synagogue. I'll spend that shit in Acon City.
There's a better chance that you'll end up in Acon City than you will in Germany.
That is very true. That is not a lie on any level. So go ahead and go to Patreon. You can search for us on Patreon, and you can give there, or go to patreon.com/tattoo with children. And you can find us on YouTube soon. We're already on YouTube. You can find video of us.
Video
on YouTube.
us.
Yeah,
Like,
we're working on it.
We're working on it. All right, guys. I just want to remind you that's coming.
This
So for
may
those-
or may not be the episode, depending upon Flavor Ray.
This is not the episode. This isn't it. But there maybe 62. We're gonna do some format changes for you guys. Like we're really working hard on this, and we're gonna get you guys the content you deserve, because you deserve the best content. You deserve to take care of yourself before you take care of others, and you deserve to know that I love you.
See ya.
Later.
We were born to bring it back, but it's more than basic. Cause a portion of its rap at the core is ancient. It's imported like a pack of some more observations. They're important like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the tour is a normal placement. Tattoos on my